recently made a video covering radar towers and how insanely helpful they can actually be. Talking about underused buildings reminded me of the geothermal generator, a machine that generates free power. But what is it? Is it too good to be true? And is it worth it? Well, today we find out. To understand if the geothermal generator is even worth it, we have to go over some basics. Just like the radar tower, the geothermal generator is unlocked in the MAM, except this time it's not in the quartz category, but instead in the Caterium category. We can see it right down there at the very bottom, so to unlock that, the first thing you have to do is gather some Caterium in your world. You can just find an open source mine or a couple of nodes lying around and just collect it through that way. Then after that, you then have to make your Caterium ingots, then your quick wire. After you make your quick wire, you then have to research this, which I believe just requires 100 quick wires, so that's not too concerning, just do that in there. And then you can choose whichever route here that you really want. You could either choose the AI limiters or the high-speed connectors, either one, that's completely fine. Now luckily, this item is no longer in the Caterium tree, so you don't have to unlock anything from that. Instead, you do have to unlock this though, which will be your geothermal generator. To unlock the geothermal generator, these are the items that you are going to need. It's 100 high-speed connectors, 1000 quick wire, and 50 motors. However, in addition to that, you also unlock the scanning ability for the Geyser, which is essentially the node where you place a geothermal generator. So rather than placing, let's say, a miner on a iron node, it's just a geothermal generator on a geyser. That's just how it works. What you are seeing is all 31 geysers in the map. There's 9 impure nodes, there's 12 normal nodes, and there's also 9 pure nodes as well. So how much power do they generate? Since we can't really tell if this thing's worth it if it doesn't give us much power for the cost. Well, this might actually look really bad, but let's get into it. Firstly, again, we've got 9 impure geyser nodes, which gives us anywhere between 50 and 150 megawatts worth of power. It doesn't take me to tell you that 100 megawatts is not very good. However, if you've got all 9 of the impure nodes, suddenly you're generating 900 megawatts, which if you're early or mid-game, is actually not that bad, and it is free power. Well, it's not exactly free, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. Luckily, things get slightly better with the normal geyser nodes, where we generate anything between 100 and 300 megawatts worth of power, again with an average of 200, and then with our 9 pure nodes, we generate anywhere between 200 and 600 megawatts with an average of 400, which again is so much better than the impure nodes, as one can probably expect. So if you were to place down geysers on all 31 nodes, you will generate anywhere between 3,550 megawatts to 10,650 megawatts, with the average being around 7,100. And again, if you're late game, this might not be anything to you. You might be making hundreds of thousands of megawatts. However, if you're early to mid game and you don't want to use something that, let's say, for example, involves coal or crude oil, this is literally free power. What you're going to do is just plonk this thing down and there you go, it's generating power for you. Let's put things into perspective. Let's say again, on average, you are getting 7,100 megawatts worth of power, and one refinery, let's say, is 30 megawatts. This means that you are essentially getting enough power to handle 237, pretty much, refineries, which is a lot. And again, this is just the average here. Let's say that you are getting yourself the maximum amount of megawatts that you can get from all of these geysers, 10,650. Divide it by 30 megawatts, since again, one refinery consumes 30 megawatts worth of power, and that's enough power to generate 355 refineries, again, for free. And of course, let's say this was smelters or constructors, that would be enough power to generate 2,662.5 smelters or constructors, which again is remarkable. Why do I keep calling it free power? Because you still gotta build the actual geyser itself. And that isn't necessarily cheap. So let's take a very quick look at that. This is the cost of one geothermal generator. It costs 10 motors, which isn't fantastic, but it's okay, it's not too bad. 25 modular frames, 25 high-speed connectors, 50 copper sheets, and 250 wire. This sounds like a lot, but by this stage of the game, again, if you're approaching the middle part of the game, you should be fully automating wire, you should be fully automating copper sheets, most likely modular frames and motors as well, preferably. And with high-speed connectors, some people choose to fully automate this early on. Some people, like myself, choose just to handcraft it whenever I need it. So don't worry too much about that. And again, that's not too bad. But remember, we need 31 of these things. So when you times all of this by 31, then suddenly the numbers start to look a little bit more intense. You need 310 motors, 775 modular frames, 775 high-speed connectors, 1,550 copper sheets, and 7,750 wire. Yeah, this is far more intense. And bear in mind, when it comes to things like copper sheets, wire, modular frames, and motors, you are going to be needing these things for a ton of other buildings in the game, including refineries, even your fuel generators. And of course, your copper sheets are then going to be used for other things, such as pipes, of which you're going to need quite a lot of in your playthrough. And of course, wire is wire. It's rather important for everything. The only exception to this is high-speed connectors, which you don't really need too much of in your world, but as you can see, you still need a fair bit. The easiest way to get all of this is by doing a classic trick, which I like to call AFK. Just leave your game running for a couple hours and it should be okay. So creating the actual machine itself is not free. But again, there's another reason why I call this free power. To see why that is, we're gonna have to use our definitely not laggy hypertube cannon. I've lost, my game's crashed. What you're currently seeing is my rocket fuel power plant. Now this thing generates roughly 150,000 megawatts worth of power, but it took me about 2.5 to 3 months to actually make, and it's still not even finished. This thing involves a ton of crude oil, sulfur, coal, iron, all the drones as well, the packaged fuel, making all the liquids, water, and of course the time, effort, polymer resin as a byproduct, and a bunch of other things. Whereas again, the geothermal generators just requires you to plop it down, connect it to a power supply, then there you go. Essentially, that's what I mean by free power. Like, you don't need your coal, your sulfur, your crude oil, your water, your iron. You just need to plop it down. So again, that's why I call it free power. So now that we've discussed how to unlock the geothermal generator, as well as how much power you can get from it, as well as the amount of materials and items it actually costs, and of course the fact that it's literally free power, it is time to answer the question, is it worth it? Well, for all the reasons I've just stated, yes. I think it is absolutely worth it, especially, again, if you are in that mid-stage of the game as well. Getting an additional 7,000 to 10,000 megawatts worth of power is incredible. Now, is 10,000 megawatts going to be incredible when you're, late game, about to finish the game and got hundreds of thousands of power being produced in your nuclear facilities? No. But if it's free power, why not? Resource-wise, it's not that expensive as long as you just AFK for a while, so that shouldn't be a problem. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Would you recommend the geothermal generator, or would you give it a miss? Without further ado, thank you very much for watching. Before we go, a massive thank you to our channel members, The Bearded Cobra, Jao, Variants, Nicole Still Plays, Asuna, Natormal, Yummy Kill Burns, Chaos Rising, Scott and Hattie, and Mau Mau. If you decide to become a Knight of the Realm for just £2.99 a month, you get access to channel-only emotes, unique badges, and also shoutouts in videos. Memberships are the best way to support my channel, but you don't have to become a member. Even just by watching today's video, you are supporting the channel massively. Here's a couple more videos I've made that you might be interested in. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Have an amazing rest of your day, and remember, Godspeed.